Oh, hello everyone. I'm delighted to be here tonight. I'm very happy to be in Holland again. I've never been in Maastricht before, but I have spent many pleasant days in Amsterdam and in The Hague, and I've always enjoyed my visits to this country. I've always found it very refreshing to be here, and I'm very happy to be here again, and I'm delighted to see all of you. And I look forward to your comments and questions. So before I begin, let me ask myself, why do you want to hear from me? I mean, I'm sure there are people in the Netherlands and in Europe in general who could probably speak on the topic that I was asked to speak about energy and international politics. And I think the only justifiable answer in my defense, I'll say, is that I do come from the world's number one consumer of energy, the United States, and perhaps I could give you a perspective from our point of view, because I do think it is important. The United States consumes about 1/4 of the world's energy every day, and also consumes about 1/4 of the world's oil every day. About 20 million barrels per day, which is more than Europe altogether consumes. About 2/3 of that is imported. And because we depend on imported petroleum for so much of our energy, energy is a matter of our foreign policy and our strategic policy and our military policy. Energy matters to us in our relations with the rest of the world. Everything all right? Energy is a matter of American foreign policy, our relations with the Middle East, with Africa, with Latin America, with Russia, and with Central Asia, and is, as I say, a matter of military policy, because energy, especially oil, is crucial not only for our economy, but is also crucial to American military power. The U.S. military in Iraq and Afghanistan. Iran is soon to come. I'll talk about that. We're just on the verge of Iran. I'm anticipating. Could not function one day without petroleum. We forget, because we think of the military as operating nowadays with computers all the time. But the American military is the world's leading consumer of petroleum. The United States military consumes more petroleum than all of Sweden does every day, to give you an impression of what I'm talking about. So oil is essential to American military and to the U.S. economy. And oil also figures in our relations with China. We used to think in terms of China when we thought of our strategic policy with China. We would think about Taiwan or North Korea. Not anymore. Now when we think about China, we think about oil, because China has become our leading competitor in the competition for the rest of the world's oil. And Americans nowadays, when they think about future competition for oil and our relations with China, if we're ever going to go to war with China, it's not going to be over Taiwan, which was always the case in the past, but will be over oil. So perhaps this evening, if in my discussion, when I talk about the politics of energy, maybe by giving you this perspective, maybe I could be some utility for you. So what I thought I would do is to begin, first of all, by giving you a big overview of the global energy equation and the geopolitics of energy. And then I'll take a break and give you a chance to ask me questions or to raise points with me about this. And then I thought I would focus on a particular area of the world where the competition for energy has most become most entangled with global geopolitics, and that's the Caspian Sea, Central Asian region. So to begin with, the first point of my discussion this evening is that the global demand for energy, especially oil, is rising much faster than global supply of energy, and that this is likely to become a major source of friction in international relations in the years ahead. According to the most recent projections by the U.S. Department of Energy, global energy demand is expected to rise by 50% between now and 2030, over the next 25 years, from approximately 475 to 700 quadrillion British thermal units, BTUs. This reflects continued high demand from the mature industrial countries, especially the United States, the European Union, and Japan on one hand, along with soaring demand from the Asian economic dynamos, especially China and India. For this higher level of demand to be satisfied, the world's energy producers will have to vastly increase the output of all major sources of energy, including oil, natural gas, coal, nuclear power, hydropower, and renewables. But despite all of the talk of a revival of nuclear energy and all the talk about a new push for renewable sources of energy, solar and wind power and so forth, the vast majority of the additional supply of energy that's expected to come online in the next 25 years, about 90% of this additional oil is expected to come from old energy sources, namely fossil fuels, oil, coal, and natural gas, with oil and natural gas together expected to supply 58% of total world energy in 2030. So the critical question becomes, is the world energy industry capable of providing sufficient oil and natural gas to satisfy this much higher level of demand expected for the decades ahead? And the answer, I believe, is no, not very likely at all. To explain why this is so would probably take a lot more time than we have this evening, and I would be happy to entertain your questions about this when we have time. But at least let me sketch out the basic parameters. This, after all, is probably the most important question facing all of us on the planet anyway, so you better get used to knowing about this. Both oil and natural gas are finite substances whose extraction will follow a natural life cycle, starting with initial discovery, then early production to full-scale production, eventually leading to a peak in sustainable output, after which there's a plateau in production, and then a slow decline, then a more rapid decline, and then eventually complete exhaustion of the resource. Of course, some fields, some deposits are discovered later than others.